1 second, we've got another question.
Okay, well, since we're on the subject of leaders, to me it seems like during the slave trade, we had the chiefs of areas, or the tribal leaders, who collaborated to sell their people to those who were, who they collaborated with, don't need to go into details. So I feel nowadays, 100, 200 years later, whatever you want to call it, we now have our supposedly voted leaders also selling the resources of the people to their foreign partners and collaborators. So we're talking about this subject of leaders. Just because you have the seat or you have the power doesn't actually make you a good leader.
Nice remark, definitely.
Yeah. So what's your opinion?
You want me to comment in relation to what was said? Okay.
On a personal level and on a general level.
Well, first of all, fortunately, the book titles are here. And one of the titles, I don't know if you can see it, is African People Abolished the Slave Trade. Yeah. It's important to understand that what you said is correct historically, that there were chiefs who betrayed us as a people and sold our people into slavery. That did exist. It's not a lie by itself. But in the way that European historians have portrayed it, it is a lie. It does not tell the complete truth. Because at the same time that there were the sellout chiefs, there were also the chiefs, the tribes, who fought against the enslavers. So for instance, in 1605, the references are in this book, in 1605, the Bini people abolished slavery. Abolished it. No more slavery. They don't tell you about that abolition, but African people abolished slavery. And then what the British did in response to that is they arranged what would today be called a coup. They bribed somebody who was near leadership, arranged for the leader to be killed, and then their puppet was installed who allowed slavery to be reintroduced. Those nuances of history are not explained in this book. I give you the evidence that shows that somewhere in the region of 500,000 guns were sold to African people, to different tribes in Africa. And what the enemy would do, what the European imperialists would do, is they would go to one tribe and they would say, look, those people over there, they're coming to kill you. Yeah? We've got guns. You can buy our guns. And then they go to the other tribe and they say, you see those people over there, they're coming to kill you. Yeah? We've got guns. You can buy our guns. And then what would then happen is there would be a bloody war between the two tribes. And of course, the prisoners of war would then be the fodder who were put on the enslavement ships and sent over to the Caribbean. What I'm trying to say is that there are nuances of history that are not portrayed. What you said is correct, yeah? But they don't tell us about the Africans who, when their people had been captured, what the Europeans used to do is they used to hold the ships on our coastline and wait until they filled up the ship. It could take as long as 6 months to fill up the ship before they set sail over the Atlantic. But what we don't hear is when you know, African people came, killed all of the occupants of the ship, and took their people back home to the village. That part of the history is not told. There are examples in this book. So it's the history is incorrectly portrayed. Even though what you said is correct, it's not in proportion. It's not. It's centering on the sellouts, but it's not talking about all of the other fantastic things that happened, where African people saved fellow African people from Europeans. Another comment that I'll say is this: is that there's no history of African people standing on the shores of Africa with their brothers and sisters in chains, waiting for somebody or calling somebody to come and take them away. That whole thing happened because it was demand-led, if we want to talk economics, because Europeans demanded it. And then they created the infrastructure for it through wars. And yes, there were sellouts as well. If we look now, we're now hundreds of years beyond. And we can see who was in charge of that process, and it wasn't the African chiefs, even the sellouts. Because now, Europe is rich, technologically. Africa is backward, technologically. Those chiefs did not get a big enough share of the cut of the loot, the spoils, to create anything substantive in Africa. It was the Europeans who benefited from it, the European imperialists who benefited from it. So we must understand that fundamentally, it was the European imperialists who created the enslavement trade in African people. We must understand that fundamentally that's the way it was. And what you said is true at the same time. But there's a double truth in what you said. Because the sellouts continue to this very day. So we've seen Tinubu. When the people of Benin Republic, through their army, rose up to liberate Benin Republic from the clutches of France, Tinubu sent fighter jets to go and bomb the Benin Republic. Tinubu is a modern day traitor of the sort that you described there. He's standing directly in the path of those who want to liberate themselves. And he's a fellow African. Remember, the Benin people are Yoruba people, largely. Yeah? The French and the British just drew a line to separate the Yoruba people. So it's actually his own people that he's going to go and drop bombs on. Because Tinubu, as I understand, is a Yoruba man. Yeah? So he's just dropped bombs on the Yoruba people the other side of the line, created by the imperialists in 1884 at the Berlin Conference. So we cannot forgive the sellouts then, and we cannot forgive the sellouts now. I think that's the essence of the point that you were making. And I fundamentally agree with the point you're making, if that's it.
Is there a solution?
The solution is Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is the unification and liberation of Africa and her people under a just social system. And that just social system is called scientific socialism. That's the essence of the solution. When we put that into practice, and it's beginning to be put into practice now in the AES states, as we put that into practice, we increasingly move towards our solution.
Perfectly said. I think we had one more question at the back.
Yeah, I've been really overwhelmed by this sort of discussion you've had here. You know, it's really intense, it's really, you know, heartfelt. If someone wants to sort of like know more about like Black history, Pan-Africanism, how do they do it? Where do they go? How do they start?
You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite anybody who wants to know more to come and drum with us. Let's use the drumming as a gateway. You notice I open with the drum. I don't want to overwhelm people. Let the drum do the talking initially, and then we can build on top of that. We can drum together, we can study together, we can learn together.
Is there a location for this?
Yes. Yes. Now I don't have the leaflets with me today, but the address.
Can they find it online? Are you online?
Yeah.
Just let them know where they
Action
can.
Centre.
Let the people on the cameras know, because they're not here. So
Okay.
you got to remember, you're speaking to a numerous amount of people.
Can I ask you just to hold the mic for me just for a moment?
That's alright. Yeah. Just.
So, I'm gonna show my t-shirt in this cold place.